What we're going to look at now, part of a haunted queue, is the address settings. So when you have several queues and topics, how do you configure certain settings that can be applicable to a certain set of queues and certain set of topics instead of individually go configure maybe a similar setting on a bunch of queue repeating the same thing. Nowadays with the EAP 6, with the haunted queue, we can actually use the address setting, as you can see here, match, and here's a pattern jms.queue. So basically anything, any queue here, dot pound sign is a wildcard here. Using this pattern, it'll apply to any queues within the haunted queue, any kind of settings. Here in this case, max size bytes, 100,000 in bytes. That means once its maximum size being reached on a particular queue, it's going to block the sender from sending any more messages. So you can able to configure these kind of settings, and then you can have to apply these settings to a bunch of these queue by declaring a pattern type of this option here, the match pattern here, and you can able to apply that. So that's actually the address settings. So if you take a look at here, address settings, pound sign pattern, wildcard pattern, that means it's applicable to queues and topics, anything, any destination within the haunted queue. And by default, I actually configure some dead letter queue and then expiry queue here. We'll talk about what they are in a second. Before we continue, let's take a look at the security settings here. The security settings is the other option, just like the address settings. Then if you want to secure your messaging system, so who can able to place a message? Not any client actually able to place a message, only a certain client with a certain privileges or role-based privileges that are able to send and receive messages. By default, a pattern has provided a guest role, so anybody belong to a guest role can able to send and receive messages, send message and also consume message here. So if I want to create another additional settings, for example, we actually create this queue called dev queue, and if I want to protect it and only specify only developers role-based application can able to access that, then I can able to configure security settings here. For example, click on add, and then pattern, I can say dev queue. So this is specific to dev queue itself, and I can specify the role. I can specify call developers, and send message, consume message, but not manage that queue itself. So just in send and receive, for example, I click on save here, then it actually will create the dev queue pattern developers. So it'll create that for me, and part of the XML file also you will see that part of the messaging here. Let's search on messaging. You will find under address settings, here's the default pattern match for security settings, and here's a dev queue. When I specified here for permission type send and consume messages, we have the developer's role. Now you have other ones here: create non-durable, delete non-durable, role guest. And you can also find this part of this advanced option. The advanced option, create durable, that means whether you want to, a role-based user can able to configure this queue as a durable queue, create a durable queue, and then also whether they can able to delete this durable queue, create a non-durable queue, delete a non-durable queue. So based on applications, whether they can able to create a queue, whether they are durable or non-durable, or delete a queue whether they are durable or non-durable. So those options are also available. So these can be configured part of the security settings. So the address settings and security settings, they can actually use this pattern match options, and are able to apply it to multiple queues and multiple topics, or by use a simple pound sign, apply to every destination within the haunted queue itself. So that's actually the message settings and then security settings.